Welcome to Life, Love, and Good Stuff. Father and daughter chats with David and Sophie McCallum. Here we discuss seeing and living life through the lens of self-love, how family relationships and life experiences hinder or fuel an authentic, rewarding life. A life filled with conscious, compassionate self-love. And sometimes we just have a good chat. Actor David McCallum has appeared in theater, film, and television and is a critically acclaimed author. David's most enduring roles include the Russian agent Ilya Kuryakin in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Dr. Donald Ducky Mallard on the CBS hit NCIS. Sophie McCallum was born in New York City, where she lives today. Sophie's a certified life coach, but specializes in self-love coaching as the self-love peddler. Sophie is an energy leadership master practitioner and strives to start each day with love in her heart for herself and the world around her. Okay, we are back. Today we're going to do a little...
I was just going to tell you about...
story time.
There was a time, I got a photograph from when I was over visiting your brother, Peter, the other day, of a mob of women tearing at me as I'm struggling to escape from them. And this was at a time of life when there was no internet and stuff. So fans, it was a direct confrontation and a battle, and blood was drawn, and it was rough.
Was your blood drawn?
Yeah, frequently, and hair torn out. I mean, you name it. Except in Japan, where they all come rushing as a mob towards this television person that they've seen, and as they get to within 5 feet, they all stop and bow very respectfully, which was quite beautiful when it happened. That was in Hong Kong, I think, or maybe Tokyo. But on this particular occasion that I remember, I had completed some albums. The Capitol Records and MGM came to me and said, "We want you to sing a record." And I said, "Well, I don't actually sing that much. I'm an actor, actually, I talk." So I wrote something, and we did a single called Communication, which is a takeoff of the motorcycle song. What was that one? Rum, rum, rum. Anyway. But I eventually, with H.B. Barnum, who was the arranger with the Supremes, and David Axelrod, who is famous to this day as a producer, went to Capitol Records, met Lou Rawls and Peggy Lee and all these wonderful people at Capitol Records, and I made 5 albums. I took top 40 songs, and I was going to do them with a woodwind quintet and a sort of Mozartian sound. And when H.B. Barnum came in with his Supremes background, the whole thing was wildly loud and rock and roll and very heavily amplified.
They are a lot of fun.
I just went along with it and the whole thing, and to this day, occasionally you will still hear them in elevators on music or whatever it's called. But Chuck Painter, a very lovely man who was the publicist at MGM on The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which was a television show I did back then, he came to me and said, Capitol Records wants you to sign some albums at Macy's in New York.
What year is this?
No idea. What is it?
Give us a decade. 60s.
60s. It's got to be 60s. Oh, yeah, 60s. Early 60s. And I said, fine. You said fine to everything the publicity department wanted. They were wonderful, those people. Anyway, Chuck, myself, went to Macy's. And there were mobs of people outside on Herald Square. And we went in, and we got in an elevator and went up to the executive suites on the upper floor of Macy's. And Chuck went off to see where I would be signing and getting everything arranged. And he came back shaking. He was white and shaking. He said, "There's no way you can go down there." And a policeman came on, I believe it was one of the chiefs of police, and says, "We're not going to be responsible for your safety if you go down. You cannot go down, and we've got to get you, we've got to get you out of here as quickly as possible." So it was all getting a little James Bond, the whole thing. And so I said, fine. And because what else could I do? So up on the executive suite, there is an elevator where you can put a limousine. And so they took me along the corridor and into this huge shaft and the car. There's a New York City police car waiting there with a driver in there.
In the elevator?
In the elevator. The whole thing in the elevator. And we went down in this elevator all the way down to the bottom. And then a door opened up. And what they'd done was they cleared Herald Square, or whatever that's.
How many blocks?
Well, just the whole, it's a huge open space in front of
right.
Macy's. It was empty. But all these women all the way around, screaming and yelling, young teenagers and such like. And the sirens going, the lights going, we go flying out into the very center of the road, and the car stalled and the engine stopped. And he's desperately trying to make it work.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm sitting there quite calmly. I wish I'd had a nail file, because it really would have been a good prop to have.
Are you hiding, or you're...
No, I'm just sitting there. There's just the two of us in this car, in this empty square.
Right.
And I said, excuse me, if you turn the siren off and the lights, you might be able to start the engine. So he said, oh, yeah. So he switches off the light, switches off the thing, starts the car off, and we drove away. And I learned later that the damage to the floor where I was going to be, because I hadn't turned up, they tore it apart and did well over $25,000 worth of damage to that floor.
Jeez, beware of teenage girls, moral of the story.
That was Macy's, that wonderful day at Macy's. I don't know if Macy's remember, but boy, I sure do.
Wow.
But it was just the emptiness of the square when we drove out, and the car stalling was just so. I said, it's James Bond again, but that's just the whole concept was ridiculous. It's wonderful.
Amazing.
And then the other one that was that hurt was I was in Louisiana. I think at Louisiana State University, or one of them, we were shipped from place to place. We never really knew where we were. And I was assigned 3 of the biggest policemen I've ever seen in my life, who took me, and this mob of women inside the building, they said, we've got to get you out of here. And so they said, go in here. And they opened the door of the ladies' room.
Yeah.
And they said, we'll not let anybody in. You'll be perfectly safe in there. So they pushed me and shut the door, and the 3 of them obviously blocked the door. So I'm in the ladies' room all alone, probably looking around, checking it out. I hadn't been in many ladies' rooms. And then I heard a crash. And they'd broken the window and opened the windows at the back of the ladies' room, and they were coming through the windows.
It's like a horror movie.
Yeah, it was exactly like that. Now that's where I lost a big chunk of hair out of my scalp. But those women who came through the windows actually attacked me. Now I'm backed up against the door with 3 policemen on one side and the girls on the other side. And I'm trying to get out of the ladies' room. And I couldn't.
So what happened?
Well, eventually somebody wised up. And I got up. I'm still here.
Right.
But that was scary. Because there's no way out. Joanna Lumley, who was a very good friend who did AvFab and a few other things, and we did Sapphire and Steel together. And she's gorgeous. I love her. And she was writing had her own column in the London Times, so she's quite erudite. She once said when she left university, this is talking about security, when she left university, she said, thank God that all those terrifying nerves her final exams and everything. Although somebody's modesty, she said it was a terrifying experience to go through that. She said finally breathed a sigh of relief out of college, and then she said she did an opening night on Broadway,
right,
on the West End. I think an opening night on Broadway is probably the most terrifying. To try and keep your inner sense calm. And nowadays, of course, now if you have a cold and you get a bad review, the thing closes next day. And millions of dollars go down the cake-hole because you got a bug.
And I know from doing these talks that if I asked you how you find your inner calm to do something like that, you would say preparedness.
Yeah.
Hard work and preparedness.
And I also discovered that if the tips of your fingers
you've said that, are relaxed.
Yeah, are relaxed.
Everything else just
Quite
goes.
Extraordinary.
Yeah.
But,
well, dinner has arrived.
yeah.
Thank you for your stories.
Probably a lot of chicken.
Not for me.
Not for me. Well, a little bit maybe.
So this was a short one, but it's a fun story.
But the other day, there was a chef on the television, and he was boiling potatoes. Only he took those nice little potatoes, not fingerlings, and he cut a bowl of garlic in half and put one half into the water. He cut an onion in half and put it into the water, and he simmered them and cooked the potatoes in that. Then he took them out and gave them a little bit of a roasting with a little oil for 10 minutes.
Just the potatoes or the onions too?
Just the potato, threw the onion and the garlic away. I've got to try it.
Well, next time we meet, we could cook something.
No, that would be interesting.
And we'd have to talk about it a lot because not everybody wants to watch our mugs. Some people are just going to listen. But there must be something fun we could do together like that while we talk.
Yeah, we could peel potatoes.
Like the army.
Yeah.
Love you, Dad.
Yeah, I love everybody out there. Not you.
He didn't mean that. Thank you for spending time with us today. Please hit the subscribe button so you're notified each time a Life, Love, and Good Stuff Father and Daughter Chats with David and Sophie McCallum podcast drops. Until next time, remember to lead with love.